The following podcast is rated G for gammon. Please be aware it may contain some coarse language and is not suitable for children or gammon audiences. Say true God.
Seriously? Say true God.
God. Always say true God.
Seriously? Say true God.
We're back. Say true God. Them yarns.
Say true
We are back, brother. Guess what? I got out of
What?
bed. I told you.
Yes.
I said, remember last week I said, if I don't show up next week, just let me know. And I showed up because zero energies. Anyway, hello, everyone.
Hello, everyone. Just in case you're wondering, the reason why she got out of bed is because her fire alarm's going off. So
Yeah.
she's trying to take credit for
Oh, my
fire
God.
alarms.
Bro, it's like a metaphor going off in my life right now, just like alarms. And I don't know what's happening in my household, but the fire alarms are just jacked up in this house. So if you hear something in the background, it's literally my house.
You know what? It could just be because your house is extremely culturally safe and it's celebrating the year of the fire horse.
The fire
Happy Chinese
horse.
New Year, everyone.
Chinese New Year. You know what, man? I've been seeing, I don't know, maybe it's the algorithm. I've been seeing all the, the dragons, the dancing dragons.
Yeah, I love dragons.
That's probably not even the term for it. But I watched one the other day that was just like the dancers doing their thing without the actual costume and showing them like jumping from pillar to pillar. I was like, oh my God.
It's
the
deadly.
athleticism. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm just like, how they're not breaking their knees, everything's like, they just miss that one little thing.
my God.
Boom, everybody just get knocked over. It's deadly.
You know what it reminds me of, and what I think the only comparison would be, you know how TI Mob, like when they learn how to dance and they get that stick, and if you don't jump high enough, you'll get stung by that stick. I feel like that would be the same for them, Mob, hey?
Yeah, that made me glad that I was South Sea Island, not Torres Strait Islands.
Hey, come properly.
Yeah, jump, yeah.
So what's the year? The Chinese New Year.
Year of the fire horse.
What's the fire horse?
Well, it's just the year of the horse.
Year of the
but
horse, right?
Yes, there's something to do with fire horse, which means like prosperity and something else. So, we all gonna make some money.
Hopefully. That would be nice. The fire horse, the Lunar New Year, it starts on February the 17th. So by the time this goes out, it would have already started. Yeah, how exciting. But I have had a week. I don't know about you. Actually, no, that's a lie. I've had an hour, a day, a week, a month, a year, a 40 year.
Wow. That's a lot of things.
Everyone's like, oh, here she goes. Here she goes. Oh, man. There is something that I've been wanting to talk about on this podcast for a long time. Not really found the space to be able to talk about it until now. And I think it's probably appropriate that I talk about it to start off the new year. So everyone listening knows where my head's at. And that's my ADHD. It's my ADHD.
ADHD. So for those who don't know, what does ADHD actually stand for? Because I have talked about ADHD for a long time.
Yeah.
And I think it's like attention deficit something, but I don't know what the H is.
Yep. Attention deficit hyperactivity disorder.
Oh, okay.
So I guess I should preface by saying I'm a latecomer to this diagnosis, only the last couple of years. And I'm talking about it because I've had a lot of mob reach out to me in the last few years since I've been on my own kind of journey of trying to figure out what's happening in my life with my brain and how I process things and just who I am. And because of that, I thought, I might as well talk about it. And I want to just say that everybody's journey or story is very individual. So what I say and how it's been for me, there may be a lot of comparisons to other people listening, but the actual way I went about my diagnosis, and it's very different. And this is half the drama with this particular disability. And I guess, how do I begin this conversation? Really? It's a lot.
Why don't you start with what made you decide that you were going to try do something about it? Like, what was like the trigger here? Because you sort of knew that you had it, yeah, you knew you had something, but what was like the thing you like, F
Mm.
this, I got to go do something about this now.
You know, I never knew that I had any sort of disability. I didn't feel like I had any sort of disability. There
Mm.
were signs of things, but I knew I operated differently.
Hmm.
I knew my brain didn't sometimes work like the average person. And I didn't actually click. I didn't actually realize, I may need to look into this until I started working in the disability sector. And
Oh yeah.
especially, I started working in the Disability Royal Commission a few years ago, and I was working in there, and so I was, around a lot of people with disability and hearing stories of neurodivergence and hearing stories, and I'm going, yeah, I know heaps of mob like that, eh? And like, I started going, oh yeah, actually that makes sense that there's heaps of mob, and I would always relate it back to my own family. So my brother, he had it. He
Hmm.
has it, should I say, just not something you grow out of, which is,
Yep.
something that they used to say. So he had it from a very young age. He was diagnosed with it and told that this kid's got ADHD, he's got ADD, he's got all the Ds. And
Mm,
this was
mm. Good ways.
20, yeah, good ways. This was what, 27 years ago now. So when that diagnosis was coming out, it was, it's a boy thing. There's a lot of young boys
Yep.
that had ADHD and they were just handing out Ritalin, and it was like they have behavioral issues and short attention spans, and that's it. And they're just hyper. They're just
Mm.
hyperactive. There was never much studies done with girls and how ADHD presented in girls.
Yeah. And was it mostly like white men as well? Like I think a lot of the issues that we have in health is that pretty much everything was just based on studies of white men, and they just sort of assume that would be the case for everybody, regardless of their gender,
Mm,
neurodiversity, genetic race, hereditary issues, whatever.
yeah. And a lot of disability is based on a medical model of
Hmm.
diagnosing, prescribing. Disability is always seen through this medical lens of needing to be fixed and not
Yep.
something that people live with and that they can live with and that they can be supported in and that they have rights to everything in life through a social lens. And it's actually society
Mm.
that puts the barriers in place for people with disability, not people with disability having barriers.
Yep.
So with that in mind, there is a lot of it was a pretty new thing back then,
Mm.
and they were just handing out Ritalin, and mainly to boys, and the studies were on a lot
Yep.
of the younger boys, and not much on young girls. So,
Okay.
because it was just ADHD, and now further down the track they realised, ADHD is actually very side by side with autism,
Yep.
and the similarities. So autism can mask a lot of the ADHD
Hmm.
symptoms, and ADHD can mask a lot of the autism. So now they do a lot of screening for both at the same time. And for a lot of the years, people with ADHD would get told that they're anxious or they have depression. And so
Mm.
I had that. I had yep, you have anxiety.
Yep.
So I've been on anxiety medication for over probably close to 15 years now. So
Yeah.
maybe
Wow.
a little bit less. So I had that, and I was like, yeah, because the levels that my brain goes to and runs and thinks of and like can't stop, of course it has to be
Mm.
anxiety without
Yeah. Yeah.
ever actually thinking of anything else. Because the thing with our mob with disabilities or any sort of differences, we don't tend to see them because we have layers of things that we're dealing with in our life. So it might be socially that comes first, culturally, socioeconomic. All of these things happen before we even go, actually,
Mm.
we have some differences or we might have disability.
Yeah, yeah. And I think the other
Yeah,
thing to add on top of that is like your trauma.
yeah,
So we get
trauma.
intergenerational trauma, and you've got your own personal traumas that have happened. And so, like, when I worked with young people and youth justice and stuff, and you'd see a lot of the signs of the different things, you were just like how much of this is trauma based, and then how much is this has come out of them being a neurodivergent student in a
Mm,
school that didn't fit them, then
yeah,
they get kicked out of school, or they don't fit in school, and then so they start doing other things, and the trauma on top of that, like it's just a
yeah.
such a vicious cycle, right? Like of of that balance of, like, yeah, you black fellas got trauma, but like there's so many other layers, like
Mm.
you said, of what else could be happening.
Yeah. And sometimes all that's looked at is like, and sometimes all we can handle is that we got so much trauma going on. Either there's, I know growing up in my household, there was domestic violence. There
Mm.
was low, my mum was a single mum, really,
Mm.
trying to work. So not a lot of money. A mum who had to try and juggle everything with what she had.
Mm-hmm.
So there's trying to deal with that on the day to day in our mob, trying to just survive and do what we do. No one has the capacity to look deeper, to go, what else is going on with my kid? Now, I'm talking about growing up in the early 1900s now. In the, in the, from 1985, early 90s is when I'm a kid and coming through primary school, and my mum's, all this stuff's going on. So lots of things have changed now for our mob, but a lot of that is still the same of we have so many layers of things. And that is another reason why the medical system doesn't always see these things for mob, or we
Yes.
don't see it ourselves enough to go to the doctor to go and see it, because we're very inclusive. We all treat each other,
Mm.
equally, unless it's a physical disability and we're like, yeah, darn, brother boy's a bit vinegar there, a bit
Yeah.
deaf. Like, well, we include our mob, right? We don't try and
Yeah.
leave them behind.
Yeah.
But when it's an invisible neurodivergent disability, our mob are like, that's a hard-head kid.
Mm-hmm.
They don't listen. They need
Yeah.
flogging. Like, these are all the narratives that happen, right? And these are
Exactly.
what I heard growing up.
Yeah.
So I never clicked that there was anything disability related, ADHD, autistic traits, any of that, till I started working in the space and hearing other mob stories.
Yeah, that's really interesting. Like, I never put two and two together. I thought you just must have finally got sick of it, but I guess because you were like around that space and, becoming more educated yourself, you're like, wait a minute. Oh my goodness.
Wait a and
What is happening? Oh,
and hearing the rates, right? I'm like,
yeah.
oh yeah, there's really high rates. That means like pretty much almost everyone I know would have something going. And then I'm like, wait a minute. And then hearing other people's story and seeing their disability, finally, their invisible disabilities, seeing them because they're describing them, they're telling, I'm starting to see. And it's not like it wasn't just then. I worked in like primary schools. I worked with a lot of kids with, ADHD and diagnoses at schools and whatever. But it wasn't until I started hearing other mob stories and seeing the disability come to the front, the word
Yes.
disability, and then going, and then putting faces and names just to the traits and going,
Yes.
yeah, okay, if that's what that is, then that means that person is in my family. That means that person, that. Wait a minute. I have those traits. Wait a minute. And I'm like sitting there
crazy.
scratching my head like, holy, wait a minute. And I knew there was differences for me, but I always associated, ADHD is like my brother. Like, yep, cool, that's that person
yeah.
over there. Never an inward, maybe I need to look at the things I've had in my life. So I think it was around 2023 or so now, a couple of years back now, not too long ago, enough to be a couple of years, but
Yep.
started realized it a lot earlier, but didn't actually do any plans to try and go, should I chase the diagnosis? Do I need a diagnosis? Why do I need that? For me, it was like I'd done a lot of work on my trauma. So I thought maybe it's the anxiety and depression and trauma first. So I'll go and take care of that. So I've done extensive counseling, especially EMDR, which is a specialized counseling for trauma. So I really focused on unpacking all the things from my childhood trauma and all the things I've been through to go, well, actually, I've worked extensively on that, and a few other things just still exist, so it can't just be trauma.
Can't just be trauma.
So
yeah.
I ruled that out. I've tried the medication for anxiety. I've tried, I've done all the things. And I'm like, no, there's still differences about myself that I know are there. Yeah, so I did start to look into it, and again, this is just my journey. How I did that was, first of all, realizing it, did my own research, obviously. But I also looked at peer-to-peer, different mob, different stories,
Yep.
recognizing myself in others and my own community, and And neurodivergence recognized neurodivergence real quick. You know what I mean? Like we was like magnets to each other.
Yeah.
And then all I did was again, this is not advice to go out and do it. It was just for me a couple of years ago. This was the journey. And in Queensland, it's different everywhere and it's expensive. So I had the privilege of being able to work and I self-funded this myself.
Yeah, that's right.
So, this isn't NDIS, none of them things. Unfortunately, for people to go and get the diagnosis, especially at a later age, it does cost money. It's very taxing and emotionally all of the things.
So I only know about ADHD, what I've seen on social media.
Yeah.
So one of the things that I've seen as the biggest complaint is like people with ADHD have to go through all these processes and do all these things, which directly is the opposite
of what you usually do.
The ADHD strength is, you know what I mean? They're like, you have to be planned, you have to be doing this, you have to
turn up to your appointments.
You got to be on time to these things, and you got to plan the next one, and it's like a whole. It's literally a test.
Yeah.
And if you fail, you don't get your diagnosis.
Yeah. So the way that I had to do it, first of all, I just went to my GP, and I remember saying to her, I wouldn't mind getting a screening, for maybe ADHD. And she's like, really? Why? And I was like, I don't know. I just feel like there's just a few processing things I like.
Yeah.
I just know there's I have differences, and there's a need to want to understand myself and how I am and like what I can do for myself, like advocating for myself. And she gave me a referral to some psych place. First of all, I had to do a mental health thing with her, because surely that would be the first check.
Exactly.
Let me just see first. Let's see if you're not depressed first before you're saying you want an ADHD. So they do this little, answer whatever mental health questionnaire, which I've done about 60 times. I score low on it every single time. I'm not sane. How many times do you have to do this test, man? I feel like I'm cheating at this point. Anyway, so we've done that. And then she said, okay, I'll give you the referral to go to whatever psych it was. She found a psych. First of all, you got to find a good psych.
Yes.
That is just to pick it off the internet because I don't know.
Yeah.
And it's got to be a so then it was a psychiatrist. But then there was like, oh no, there's some psychologists that can do the diagnosis. Yeah. And there were no psychiatrists available in Brisbane. 6-month wait list. I need it now because I have ADHD.
Yes, exactly right. You can't be waiting. Like,
no, I'll give up on it, which I did for 6 months. I was that's it then. Like, boop, I'm out. Losing the interest real quick. If it doesn't happen there and I don't get the instant gratification, I'm out. Anyway, then I found she told me another spot. She goes, I found a place and it's a psychologist. It's not a psychiatrist. So you can get your diagnosis through them. You can go and get screened for. You have to do a whole, carry on. But you won't be able to get medication from them. Because only psychiatrists can give you medication, not psychologists. So I was like, what is this? What is this? Anyway,
that is crazy.
So first of all, I've got to have money to see a GP and time off work to do that. Then I've got to book in with the psychologist, which was 3 months wait as opposed to 6 month wait.
Yeah.
Then I went and seen them, and it was 3 sessions over 2 hours each, I think it was, costing almost $2,000.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
All up, it cost me about that. And the process was literally you have to sit with this person and then they go through a form, and I think it's called a Divi 5 or Divi 5 or so, Diva 5, that's what it's called. Diva 5. Yeah. It's a whole series of questions that takes you back to basically your childhood. So what were you like at school? Tell me about, how were you at primary school? How were you learning? No good. Tell me about that. Okay.
You're like, wait, are you just trying to create more trauma for me?
It is not a trauma-informed. It's not a trauma-informed process at all. So you're talking about someone who comes from a black community. So automatically the intergenerational trauma, a single income home with a single black mum, then, all the other lenses that you get on top of it, all these undiagnosed things throughout my whole entire life. So she's taking me back to that. And I've never actually verbalized some of these things around my schooling years, of what school was like for me. Tell me about school. Well, was the kid that got, those classrooms between the classrooms, those little rooms that the teachers used to like walk between in Queensland. I don't know if you have them anywhere else if you're listening, but in Queensland primary schools, we have 2 classrooms generally, and they're joined by like a little mini in the middle room and a sink. Remember, there was always like a sink for art things. Anyway, I was always the kid that got pulled out of the class to do extra reading. I had to do the extra reading. And I actually couldn't read and write properly till I was probably 17.
Wow.
17, 18. I was the kid that would sit and copy off other kids because I just could, no matter how hard I tried, I could not process what was going from the front of the room. And I got my ears checked. I was the kid that had to do all the things. Like, I just could not process what the teacher was ever telling me. I couldn't sit still enough to pay attention to process what was coming in. As a result of that, you can imagine what kind of little class clown I was.
Yes.
And it only got worse with age because
I was about to say, it only got worse when you realised, I'm getting pretty good at this funny stuff.
Actually, who needs to write when you can talk? So, that's what I started to do. You could tell me, though, Carly, do a NAIDOC speech at the front of the room, MC the sports day, do an art piece all over it. Could do that because it was my strength, right? And it was something I was interested in doing. And creative, that was always my thing. I could create things and think of ridiculous things out of nowhere. Whereas everyone else is like, that's Wombo. Why would you think of that? Do it like this, So I knew like I could do that. But if you told me, sit down, do this, spell this, read this book, read a book. My sister girl said to me, I shared a bit of a post this week on socials around my ADHD and what I've learned, right? And like what part of that was that I was this very I didn't really like school because I didn't understand it. And I was fearful of it because it was too much for me and didn't like the crowds, didn't like the teachers, didn't like the pressure of having to try and learn something, and I knew I couldn't do it. I needed more time to understand things, and there wasn't any more time.
Yes.
And so I would be pulled out of class to do extra reading, to do extra maths, go to homework class in a punitive way because I wasn't getting it. So all of the school and the learning, then I would go home to my black mum, and bless my black mother. This is not a criticism of my mother at all. She did the best that she could with what she had. My dad really was not around for my primary school schooling stuff or my high school. So it was just my mum, and she worked. So, she'd come home and do your homework. And I'm like, I don't have homework. What do you mean you don't have it? Well, I lost it. So I've lost the homework from school to home.
Yeah.
And then I'd get flogged for that. And then when there was homework, right, sit down, sit still on this table and do your homework. I can't do that. I had no idea why I couldn't do it. I didn't understand what I was doing. Spell this. And she would sit there and she goes, now spell it. See that word there? Spell it. And I'd go, I don't know. What's wrong with you? You don't want to listen, and this, explaining this in my ADHD screening to this, the white psychologist, she was like, oh, okay. So what would happen if you didn't spell? I'm like, oh, I'd get flogged. Really? Yep, because I wasn't listening, obviously. It's class. I wasn't paying attention. I was mucking up. And then the report cards would come in that said, Carly tries really hard, but she has issues comprehending, or she's doesn't stay focused, or she's talking too much, or distracting others, or easily distracted.
Easily distracted, yeah.
And you got to think back in the 90s, no one knows what ADHD is. No one really was doing that. It was just like you're the naughty kid or you're the dumb kid. And I felt dumb. That's something that I internalized.
You're treated dumber because you didn't fit the...
Yeah.
You were the... What did I say? You were the fish that were trying to make climb a tree.
Yeah.
Anyone didn't do them tests.
And another thing that I learned along the way in my adult years is that because all the other kids that were in that room were all black kids too. That was the thing. Mostly the black kids and the low socioeconomic white kids. And you think, how come it's just all of us? Because I would go home and my mum didn't read books to me. My dad, my family didn't read books to me. I didn't have books, Nagus. I did not. I only had a couple of books. You know what they were? And now I look back, right? It's just 40 years later and I'm able to start processing. And that's what I've been dealing with the last couple of years, is just like looking back and starting to unpack. And the books that I owned, Goosebumps books.
Yeah.
Why do you think I own that, Nagus? Let's think about it.
That was scary and creative.
They were exciting and creative, but also they had a bumpy title on the cover, Sensory.
Oh, yes.
Yep.
Didn't think about that.
So I don't think I ever read more than 2 Goosebump books. I had about 40 of them. I collected them for the sake of collecting them.
Yeah.
Because neurodivergent.
Yeah.
On top of it, like the sensory title, could say that I had them. Whether I read them though, can't remember. I only had 1 or 2 that I can remember reading, because I literally couldn't sit down and physically read through a book. I couldn't read and write properly. I would skip every second word and pretend like I would just make it up. That's literally what I was dealing with. And don't even ask me about math, because that was like, when I tell you I get the math sweats to this day, brother.
You still get math sweats.
Can't do it. I literally can't do math. So anyway, I went through the psych. She takes you back through all of these things. So you, for the first time, having to go, yeah, okay. And then looking at the delayed learning, and then being a blackfella on top of it. What I've now learned from an auntie who's a teacher is that blackfellas, we grow up learning Aboriginal English dialect in our households. It's our first language. So my mum, Ia, where you going? Not where are you going? So when I get to school and they say speak proper English, how come you're not reading and writing proper English? Because in my first language, I'm speaking Aboriginal English dialect, which is our own version. It's not broken English. It is a different dialect of the English, which is an Aboriginal dialect. So all of us are learning that first and foremost. So then by the time we get to school, English is like our second language.
Yeah.
So that's a delay for our learning on top of all the other things. So I'm realizing this, and I did not start reading and writing. The way I actually learned how to read and write was not until I was about 17 when it started to click. That spelling started to like click. It was because of typing. Computers started to come out and Google and spell check. And I learned self-taught more than in the classroom by typing and looking at the right spelling, and then I would rewrite it. And that's how I learned how to. And so I became better at reading and writing through typing. So it was just a different way of learning how to read and write that was never in a classroom environment, and the way that I needed to learn for me.
Yeah, that's deadly.
Thank you, MSN chat.
Thank you, MSN chat.
Chat rooms.
Don't go back through that history, folks. You don't want to see it.
Those usernames. It's just, but going through that diagnosis, and it took like a couple of weeks to be able to do it. Then at the end, for her to say, yeah, actually, you do have ADHD, and you also you also have dyslexia. You have like forms of dyslexia there going on, and you have autistic traits. You're not scoring that high on the autism crazy spectrum. It's a big spectrum, whatever. She's doing a screening for both at the same time, so she's asking me, so are there any like smells that you just can't stand? Like there's just a smell that really irritates you. I'm like, oh yeah, my housemate Alicia, her perfume, mate, sends me nuts. Like, so it was that. Poor Alicia got chucked under the bus. Dishwashing tablets. I said to her, I can't stand a dishwashing tablet. I can't. I've got to wash my hands 60 million times. She's like, really? Okay. Yeah. So again, sensory. So all of these things just added up to the point that looking back now, I also developed a rare form of OCD when I was a teenager, probably from 12 to like 24 years old. So this is when I would have met you. I still had this. I still had this OCD. And I don't know if I've ever properly talked about it on the podcast, but it relates to, remember Oprah, the story I was telling you about Oprah? Yeah. I think I'll leave that story for another day. But the rare form of OCD was trichotillomania, and it is related to it. So it's hair pulling. You pull out your hair one strand at a time. I know it's crazy. I can only talk about it now because I survived it. It was really intense, and it started for me when I was like 12 to literally 24, and I would have panic attacks every single morning before school and before every time I started my day, from 12 to 24. So that now I come to find out is actually related to people with ADHD, autism. It is another sign. Like a lot people who have those disabilities often have OCD or can form OCD like easier than other people. All of these things I had no idea why I was doing.
Yeah.
No idea why I couldn't learn. No idea why I was pulling my hair out. No idea why I didn't like the smell of this or that. Or I physically couldn't go into the shop with my mum and I'd sit in the car for 2.5 hours while she did grocery shopping because the crowds overwhelmed me. So just like feeling never like you could fit in or that you're different. No idea why. And until I actually, at the ripe old age, I think it was like 37 or something. Maybe I should look into this.
Yeah.
And then obviously there's been studies and there's been all this new kind of flow of people on social media, and it's this big...
Being open about it, being honest about it.
Yeah, but then also I think people romanticizing ADHD. Like, ADHD, it's my superpower. And like, it can be, but it's also very debilitating. And like, not knowing you've had it for so long, not understanding and like being gaslighted in so many different things, right? I can't finish university because that university learning is not for me. I've tried it a few times. It don't register to me.
Yep.
But I know I still have the same academic kind of like levels in my knowledge of life experience sometimes, that so those people that will get it in a classroom environment at uni.
Yeah.
I've been able to do that in other ways in my life through my experience. So, yeah.
And I think like I wanted to talk to the romanticization of like neurodiversity, because I think what's important for you and me and everybody to talk about is like the spectrum that exists within everything, right? Like I think we've been stuck so long in a world where everything has to be black and white that we fail to see how much gray there is. So somebody's talking about blah 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 blah, this is my superpower. It's probably true for them, but like the reality is like that's like one small part of it that they might just be lucky to have, that they don't have to deal with like everything else. So like when I think about all the things I see online about ADHD, I'm like, oh yeah, I got that.
Yeah.
One of the things that I always found funny that Mel used to talk about was like the super cleaning man, because I'll procrastinate on cleaning for my whole life, right?
Yeah.
And then she's like, and then in one day I'll like just turn into this whirlwind of whatever.
Yeah.
And she's like, oh, okay. And then she'll like for years she'll be like, super cleaning man coming out today. And I'm like, nah. Like this is not like a switch that you just be like, click. The majority of time I'm like, I should do that.
The procrastination.
Yeah, I'll get onto it soon. And then something doesn't happen. So I think that's where the romanticization of it comes from, because like there can be some really great strength-based things that come from neurodiversity, but I think it's dangerous to ignore how things also have like a highly negative effect. So one of the things I saw a video on blackfellas mob that had ADHD and how much of a benefit they would have had for them pre-colonization, right? So when you think about like the hyperfixation and the sensory stuff and the being able to tell story and perform and blah 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 blah, be able to problem solve things, like all these things are like super relevant for a black fella back then. And he was like, and so everybody's like, oh, black fellas learn better with their hands, etc., but they don't actually think about like all the negatives in that happen, because you have all these strengths. People are like, oh, we can do this, and they don't think, oh no, they're just going to sit in a classroom for 8 hours and do all this other stuff. So there's a lot of kids like you that grew up feeling like they were dumb, but they just weren't taught to their strengths. And that's the big thing. But yeah, I really love that. And I can't remember what his name is. He's a doctor, Blackfeller, and he's a doctor. And he just spoke to it like, we have these diversities of
Mm,
neurodiversity, and they can be a benefit. But if you're ignoring the negatives that come with it, then you're really not giving it the
mm,
justice it deserves, or the thought and credit it deserves for
yeah.
the other side of the spectrum. It's
Yeah.
not just all super cleaning man and
Yeah.
super creativity woman and all that sort of stuff.
And everyone, this is the thing about anyone that's listening and you're like, well, maybe it's just me or maybe I don't have that. ADHD presents very differently in lots of different people, especially in women. And there's been more women diagnosed the last couple of years because of the different studies now to show girls had ADHD. So I had ADHD like all those naughty boys in the class, but they didn't look at the girls because the girls weren't misbehaving as much as the boys were. So they're like, oh, that boy's hyper. The girls, and for me in particular, I have the hyperness internally. So my brain never stops running. And every time I jump on this mic before we press record, I tell Nagus about a new thing that I'm doing.
Not one new thing, 7 new things.
Seven new things.
Here we go. What's happening now?
And it is the exhaustion, like internal exhaustion of your brain never stopping, or it's regulation. You can't regulate your emotions. Whereas boys would just act out and it would physically come out in their behaviors and hyperactivity and screaming and running around and punching, whatever, naughty. But for girls, it was like, I don't know what to do with all of this. And it was just internalized and it was masking a whole lot of things. So that still exists. And I got the diagnosis. Then it took me another couple of years to actually go to a psych because then it was like, now you've got to find a psych if you want medication. So you got the answer. You got this answer and there was like, see ya. And it was like, holy shit, what do I – okay, so I've got the answer that I wanted. Now I have to come to terms with that. And I thought, it's not going to really change my life that much. It's something I've known probably.
Yes.
But it is like the validation you needed, and I especially needed to understand myself and who I am. And then look at all the ways that my differences have affected my life, whether through for the grace of God, I was able to make a career out of talking, look like I do this now, just as a hobby, being creative and actually leaning into my strengths and going, that's what I'm really good at doing. Or I'll know a lot about that and I'll become like the subject matter expert in that thing because I know other people don't know how to really do that or they don't do it as probably like I do. So I lent into those things and I did all the things to survive life in my way. How I got here? I don't know. I really don't know. Considering my economic status growing up, my socioeconomic, my cultural, all the things, right? My environmental factors, as they say.
Yes.
My social and environmental factors with what I've been dealing with and who I am. And don't get me wrong, I've had so many strengths, but then I look back and I go, oh, man, like imagine if I had known then and I had the support systems to help me to do the things that I needed to do in my way.
Yes.
Like how that would have been. So there's been a lot of and I've recently only just got the medication for ADHD. So that's literally I'm 2.5 months into that.
Yes.
I think I see some differences. Like it doesn't fix everything. And again, I'm only just settling into meds. So for anyone that wants to know, I'm on Varvance. And as soon as I take it within the hour, I can see that I have a bit more concentration. I think about my words a bit more. But the flip side is I'm too productive. So before my ADHD burnout would like pull me up. So in the afternoons I'm like running out of steam because I don't sleep very well. I never have. Then my brain runs and runs and runs, doesn't switch off. Then I'm waking up in the middle of all times of the hours of the night. So I never have a good night's sleep. So by the time I get up and I have to try and like think, problem solve, meet with people for work and do all the things and show up and mask in life.
Yeah.
By the time 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock would come before meds, crashing hard, brother.
Yeah.
Can't regulate, don't want to speak to nobody, don't want to talk, can't do anything, I'm too tired, can't social, don't want to do nothing. But then ramp back up again, 8:30 at night till 3 a.m. So
Yeah, yeah.
this is the part that people don't tell you about. You see the ADHD, I'm going to create a million different businesses and I'm going to be successful, which I've done.
Yeah,
I've done that. But I also then go, no one sees the neuro burnout that I've had this week for the last few weeks of I hit a peak of working really hard, being really creative, doing all the things, especially on meds. Now there is no pull-up time. There is no exhaustion. It is,
So you go through it and then you're still exhausted.
I could keep working. Yeah, I could keep doing it. So I'm working longer because I'm able to, but then I still have the same peak. And for me, it's like every 3 months. And I've done this my whole life without even knowing. Now I have I can actually put a reason to it of why I do that. It is I'm going up the mountain. This is how I kind of see it in my brain. I go up the mountain. And then I reach the peak and I just drop. And then I shut down. So my brain will shut down. I can't, it's to do with your nervous system, your ADHD. There's not another bit of information I can possibly hear, not another person I can possibly talk to. I need to retreat. I feel my nervous system tells me that I feel unsafe and that I'm in a panic mode. I shut down and I need to retreat, which means literally underneath the blankets. Could be days, could be weeks. I'm not sure until I can bring myself back to a middle ground of like regulating again and always feeling like you're in fight or flight.
Yeah.
That feeling is so exhausting. People don't like, you're constantly exhausted mentally. So that's what ADHD feels like for me. But that's me. And at least I know now what I'm dealing with. And that was why I went and got my diagnosis, why I've actually pursued the medication even when I was like, do I need meds? Maybe I've gone my whole life without it. Will it make a difference? Again, went and talked to peer-to-peer and all sorts of demo and research, talked to my doctor. I've done lots of things. But what I can say is that like that for me has been validation of the things I've been through in my life. You know, it's affected every single part of my life, relationships, education, careers. It still does. Like it still does. There's no fix.
No.
Okay. So people go, well, what do you do? What do you do about this? Like, and one thing I've had to really come to terms with is the internalized ableism. And a lot of our mob, if you're listening, probably won't even know what, first of all, maybe what ableism is. You know, when you're discriminating against somebody else for their disability. But then you have internalized ableism. And I've never really had to think about that. What a privilege, right?
Yep.
Until now I have this and I go, I speak bad about myself. I discriminate against my own disability. So when I'm in a crash out mode or I'm like not processing or taking a while to understand things, as even now, you know, I'll go far out. Why can't I remember that? Like, why did I lose that? What's this? What do you mean I sent the wrong date for this or that on the calendar? And an ADHD brain, man, you know, like I get really down on myself.
Yeah.
And I need to, like, I'm trying to unpack like the internalized ableism now of like, no, you just need to do things for you that support you. So if I'm lucky, I work in a workplace where, you know, I can put my access needs forward and say to people, I need to take the rest of the afternoon off because I'm not processing very well and I'm not going to be able to get anything done. If I'm able to go and have that time retreat, have the rest, then come back tomorrow, I'll feel better and I'll be able to be productive. Like people are too scared to put that on the table at a lot of places. And I've tried to do that at a lot of workplaces and it just, people don't, they don't, you know, make space for that. I'm very lucky. I work for a disabled person's organisation that understands people's access needs. And so I can advocate for myself, but I've never really had to. And when I have to look at internally and go, no, you need to ask for some of these things because it helps you. But you've been scared your whole life not to speak up because you don't want to be treated differently. You don't want to be called dumb. You don't want to look like you're doing a bad job or you're dropping the ball. So it is still a journey for me. I'm still coming to terms with the diagnosis and what I need and having some like pride in it. Going, yeah, actually this is like, yep, I do think differently. Yes, I do have ADHD. Yes, I have autistic traits and like, that's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's like a really good point to make. Like it is a diversity and, there's strengths and there's weaknesses and stuff. But like, I also think the internalized ableism, and like we also have not just an internalized ableism. Like if I say like, that somebody might have ADHD or autism, they're like, like I'm putting them down, but I'm like, I don't
Mm,
think, for me, I don't think that's what I'm saying. Like, I just think like, these are certain traits that people have, and if as long as you're working to their strengths, it's fine.
mm,
Um, but I did see like a video where people were like, why people trying to diagnose everybody like way too quick?
yeah,
They're like, oh yeah, blah 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 blah, and like in multicultural communities, it's like, oh, that's Carly. She's
yeah,
really creative. Not like,
yeah,
that's Carly. She has
yeah,
ADHD with a touch of autism,
yeah.
in that space. So it's a really interesting space for me. And, I guess I don't think I'll ever be organized enough to go do what you did, I'll be honest. And I don't want my
Yeah.
loving wife who's listening to this thinking, oh, he probably
Hmm.
organized things. He should, I'm not going to do it.
She's
I'll
probably thinking, what could medication do for super cleaning guy? Interesting.
Um, because one of the things I talked to some of my mates about this, where we sit around and have deep and meaningfuls when we have our boys trips. And one of the things we talked about was like the voices in your head. They're
Mm,
like, what do you mean? I'm like, oh yeah, like, like your inner voice, your inner monologue. And one lad was like looking at us like we were stupid. He's like,
like,
what?
no, we
He's
don't
like,
all have that. And you're
yeah,
like,
yeah.
really?
And he could not believe it. He's just like,
Mm.
your voice, your brain talks to you. I'm like, yeah, like all the time. Like something's going on. Like what I'm thinking, or like I'll be in the
Mm.
shower and I'll
Oh,
be practicing a speech or something internally, and then I'll sort it out in my head. And he's like, what do you mean? Like, how do you turn off? I'm like, oh no, it just goes.
oh,
He's like,
yours
what? He's like,
goes. That's interesting.
yeah,
Mine never does.
yeah, yeah. He's like, oh yeah. And like, so one guy's like, oh yeah, I have it. When I think about it, I'm like, oh, I don't have to think about it. Thoughts just come, and then you're like, and I can't remember what it was, but we were talking about something, and then I just started talking about the most random
Yeah.
thing, and he's like, "Where
How
the
did you
f did
get to
that come
that? Yeah.
from?" I was like, "What do you mean?" I'm like, I don't know. I was just thinking about it when you said,
yeah.
Tinkerbell or something, and I was like, "Oh yeah, what
Yeah.
about that pirate pen?" Blah blah blah. So I think, yeah, it's a really interesting space, and I'm really happy that the generation that after us and now are actually having some access to what that looks like. And
Yeah.
I'm disappointed in people of our generation who were like, back in my day, nobody had ADHD and autism. So I'm like,
Mm.
dude, you collected purple M&Ms for your whole life.
You collected basketball cards,
Yeah,
okay?
yeah, yeah. Like,
To
come
the
on now.
nth
Like,
degree. Yeah.
yeah, you couldn't go into science class because the Bunsen burner smelled funny. You know what I mean? Like all these
Yes.
things where you're like, all these people who are denying that it
Mm.
existed because we just accepted that was, we just treated people weirdly, or,
Yeah.
like
Or they
they
were
were the
just
naughty
weird. They
kid,
were naughty. They were loud.
they
Yeah.
got flogged, or, they were the dumb kid.
Yeah.
But so I'm happy that, moving forward, there's so much of a better reception to neurodiversity. I do think that workplaces, like you said, don't haven't really adjusted to it yet.
No, they haven't.
Like thinking about like a few of the workplaces I've been in where they want to act like, oh, we look after all disabilities and blah 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 blahs. And I'm like, do you
Do
though?
you
Like,
though?
what is, like you said, like how many businesses and organizations can say, oh yeah, our staff just tell us what their access needs are.
Mm.
Like, I
Mm.
think that's a really important question. And I've sat in a few, I work in the diversity and inclusion space, and I've sat in a few like seminars and, online things about it. And I was like, do we even do this? You know what I
No.
mean? Like, yeah. So I think that's the next adjustment,
Mm.
and it's things like, for example, mostly old white men love to talk about, everybody needs to be in the office.
Oh my God, bro.
You're like,
The open
that,
plan office is
yes.
is a neurodivergence nightmare.
Nightmare. It's an absolute nightmare. And one of the groups I'm with, so like I said, I'm in D&I, and one of the groups I'm with, we spoke about this, and and they're like we talk about neurodiversity, and then you make me sit in between 24
Mm.
people. Everybody's talking on their headphones.
Oh my God.
Everybody's blah blah blah. Like,
Chewing,
yeah,
crunching,
chewing, talking.
scribbling.
Like wearing too much perfume,
Oh my God.
I'm sitting here, I have to be here from 8 till 5, like
Mm.
none of this suits any of my
No.
diversity. I go home, I work in my office, I smash out as much work as I
if
can
not
while I'm at home
more.
because when I get to the office, I spend half the time just trying to avoid people, trying to avoid, whatever this is. And it was such a really
Yeah.
interesting, and it's like a trigger. So like one person spoke about theirs, the next person, and what
And,
about when it's morning tea time? And
oh,
everybody's like, oh, we've all got to come. I don't want to speak to you people.
I
I just want to
don't.
sit here and do my job. And I'm like, and I'm
Yeah.
the opposite. I'm like, I love morning tea time. I
Yeah.
just want to get there like,
I want
how
to
you
go
going?
and
What's you
see
doing? Oh, okay,
everybody.
what's this? This tastes delicious. La la la. What, and like it's such a yeah.
It's,
So I think that's a big
yeah.
thing. Like
And
your
it,
experience is great for your workplace, but I do think that that's something that we're probably not doing properly.
no. And that, again, is society putting barriers in place for people with
Mm,
disability. It is
yeah.
somebody's right to have reasonable adjustments to suit
Hmm.
their disabilities. And for people with neurodivergence, is this sometimes like it's not believed. It's like, oh, is that
Hmm.
really a thing? I think it's
Yeah.
exaggerated, really. And I'm like,
Yeah.
I wish sometimes my ADHD was exaggerated. I
Yeah,
really
especially for
wish.
black fellas. And I don't know if it might be in every community, but I feel like for black fellas, we really mock each other. Like our mocking comedy for each other really doesn't create a safe space sometimes for unseen disabilities. Yeah,
Again, though,
chronic
yes.
pain, neurodiversity, like all these things. Like, yeah, you gab and you look fine. Like like there's all
Yeah,
this.
nothing wrong with you. Trying to go
Yeah,
home early, try and make out. Yeah, just worry about your own stuff. Don't worry about what they're doing at the hot desk over there.
yeah,
We don't see it. So therefore
mm,
it can't really exist, right?
yeah,
Or we just can't be that bad. That's
yeah,
another one you hear. Ah, can't be that bad. And
yeah,
you start to internalize that as
yeah.
somebody and you go, oh,
Hmm.
can't be that bad. I'm surely like I can just work
Yes.
like everybody else, or
Yeah.
I can just power through and try and do back-to-back meetings and still show up and be okay. And even though I'm
Mm.
telling somebody I'm sure I'm struggling here, I need some time to process what I just heard after that
Mm.
meeting and time to actually action things or else I'll forget. And,
Mm.
and realizing what you need and advocating for yourself to put that on the table at a workplace is really, really scary. It takes a lot of courage. It's only
Yes.
something I'm only just starting to learn how to do. And the thing is, I work with people with disabilities, so I will advocate all day long for people's access needs. I'm
Yeah.
like, yep, whatever you need, we'll do it. I'll meet it. And then
Yeah.
someone says to me, or I need to go, oh, I'm really not coping with A, B, and C. Can I do the, to
Mm.
ask of that is like, it gets you to a place of, it flashes you back to that kid in the classroom that is
Hmm.
like, don't understand, miss, or I'm not putting my hand up because I'm too shame. I don't
Yeah.
want to, because I'm just going to sit here and try and like deal with things and mask and shut down
Mm.
instead of speaking up. Because if I spoke up, I would get told I'm dumb, just
Mm.
understand it, try harder. So doing that as an adult in your workplace is really scary, but it's like it's got to be people who allow that. And if you can do that with your employees, you will get the most out of them. You know,
Mm. 100%.
yeah, like everyone I work with has like a disability, nearly everybody,
Mm.
all types of disability. So yeah, if you can meet that, you'll get the best out of those people and more. Like it's
Yep.
meeting people where they're at, but it
Hmm.
is scary. The workplace has to catch up. There's so many places in society that need to catch up, but
Yeah.
it takes a lot to actually get to the point to actually advocate for yourself, to say what you need. But look, that's a bit of my journey, brother, of the
Mm. Yeah. Thanks for
ADHD.
sharing. That was good.
Thank
I
you.
learned a bit.
You learned a bit. And this is
Mm.
the thing, right? Trying to tell people, like I've had to teach my family, I've had to teach my friends and be like, I'm sorry if I don't show up, or sorry if I've said something to offend you because I have no filter, and it's not an excuse for these things. It's like, well, at least now I kind of have a bit of an understanding and I can try
Yeah.
and work on those things. But again, it's like, this is who I am. I don't know. It's not to be fixed.
Mm.
Taking meds it's not a magic pill that's going to fix me. It is something, it's who I am.
Just an adaptation now.
Yeah, this is my life and I just need to do things that work for me. So yeah, that
Hmm.
again, it's different for everybody in every state and territory. There's been a little bit of movement in Queensland now. GPs can actually do the assessment and it's free. Love that for me, who spent two something
Yes.
$1,000, but that's fine. Everybody else, love that for you. So
Get out there, people. It's free in Queensland.
Free in Queensland, go and have a look. Start with your GP is my advice, because everyone asks me, what do you do? Where do I go? Who do I see? Start with your GP, and, if you really want to get some answers for yourself and understand yourself a little bit more, and you want to go down that line, it's not for everyone. Honestly, it's really difficult. I'm not going to lie. It's really tough. So think about it. If you have support, I'm always here. Reach out. But start with GP and go from there. But that's my story, brother. I'm sure I'll keep unpacking this as I learn more and more about it. But
Yes.
it's time for Deadly or Doogie.
Deadly or Doogie?
Deadly or Doogie? Deadly or Doogie? Doogie.
This is deadly. Nah, that was Doogie.
Doogie.
Is it Doogie or Deadly or Deadly or Doogie? Well, we're back again, folks, with another episode of Deadly or Doogie. And this week, Carly's allowed me to speak to something that's close to my heart. State of origin.
Football in general.
For football in general. But for those who know me, know that I'm a mad Queensland Maroons fan. I love and breathe it. I'm probably hopefully going to another game this year. And there's been some rule changes. So if you're not an NRL fan, just listen anyway, because my passion will get you there for the rest of it. But for many years, they've spoken about, all these players that play in NRL, but they can't play in State of Origin. And I've loved that. I think that State of Origin is the peak of the game. And the reason why it's so good is because you get redneck footballers from country towns who love the game so much they're willing to die on the field, and that's what makes the game so good. And that's why Queensland, despite having such a smaller population, has dominated the Origin game. I'm sorry, Corey's, but we just don't get Origin. Murrays are just better at it. We have more Murrays that have represented Queensland. And so what they've done, they've changed the rules now. So apparently what used to happen, if you're a Maori or, you're from England and you moved to Australia when you were a kid, you couldn't play State of Origin, right? Because it's State of Origin. Are you from Queensland or are you from New South Wales?
And it was born in that state, right?
Born in that state. Yeah. And then they made a few adjustments, and they said, oh, look, some of the Samoans and stuff, if you come here before you're 13, all right, we'll let you play. You've been here for long enough. But now they've basically just opened up and said, doesn't matter where you're born, whatever that is, if you're 13 and 14 and you move to Australia, we'll let you play State of Origin. And I was like, that.
At any age. So you could have come here last year?
No. Okay. So you still have to be a teenager when you get here. But the point is, you come here as a school kid now and you're like, oh yeah, I want to play Origin. And you get to play Origin. And I was like, that sort of defeats the whole purpose for me of State of Origin, and I know it sounds very xenophobic here, and I'm happy to be a xenophobic for this particular case. But I do think that the beauty of Origin was that you get these no-name fellas who barely get paid any money for their team, but there's not enough Queenslanders, so they're picking guys like Carl Webb, born in Mount Isa, overweight black fella, was barely on the run-on team for his own team.
Done. Rest in peace, Carl Webb.
Rest in peace, Carl Webb. But then when he went to Origin, he was like,
what did they used to call him? Didn't he have a nickname?
Yeah.
What was it?
It was something deadly.
Carl Webb, wasn't it? Yeah, it was like some. Keep going. I'll find it. I do remember.
So he got lads like Carl. Like he was good at club level, but when he went to Origin, he was just the next level because of how much passion he had playing for his state, playing for his people, playing for his country. And I think we really lose that just for this game. I'm not talking about any other game, but I just think that Origin is a special thing that we have, and now they've basically just turned it into like an all-star game, which pretty much every other sport has. So
they used to call him the Enforcer and the Wrecking Ball.
A wrecking ball. Yeah. And the lad shaved cues into his head before the game. He was just he would just lose his mind, And so I think that's what we lose, One, it also means as, black fellas in particular for Queensland have always had a special place on the team, and sometimes, they're not playing great football for their own teams, but they put a Maroons jersey on and they just go to the next level. So it's a bit disappointing. I'm sorry to Courage and all your the fellow Māori listeners out there, but
Courage does not like football. So shout out Courage, our executive producer.
he'll be bored for this conversation. But yeah, so that's why I'm happy I got to speak about it, and I'm happy I got to share my
So you
passion for the game. But
so you're giving the rating of Doogie for this, the Doogie, the
yeah,
Deadly or Doogie segment.
yeah,
You're saying the
I'm
new
saying
State of Origin rules,
there's
Doogie.
5 doogies,
Five
five,
Doogies,
the lowest you can get.
5 out of 7, because we
5 out of 7. Oh yeah, I did mess up last week. I said 7, but it was
You
actually 8.
did. See what I
Yeah,
mean? And you were
mm,
gaslighting me,
I
telling me I
was.
need to get the rating system right for
I am.
Doogie or
I'm.
Deli.
I am a man, so it's
Thank
not
you so
uncommon.
much. Someone who has freaking hates math. And then I'm like, wait a minute, this doesn't make sense. And you're
Hey,
like,
just
yes,
a
it does.
seven.
Wow.
So
Okay.
yes,
Yep.
I'm giving it a 5 doogies.
So I don't know. So also, did I hear right that State of Origin is going to be played in Auckland next year?
Yep,
What the
they're taking
hell?
a game to New
That makes no.
Zealand.
It makes me sick. Okay, there's a few reasons why I stopped watching NRL. I've
Yep,
talked a bit about it on the podcast. I used to be a fanatical NRL fan growing up.
yep. Used to wear the footy shorts when you're swimming and everything.
I was a Blues supporter.
Hmm.
Why? Because I was neurodivergent and like to go against the tide. So I just like to shit stir. So I was a Blues supporter for a long time. And I mean, I had the jersey. I had all I was crazy. Like I loved it. Knew all the players, Ryan Girdler, shout out my man. You know what I mean? Like all those
Yeah.
things. And I would get angry even now thinking about when they take it to Melbourne or take it to Perth. And I'm like, why would you
Mm.
do that? Like, and now they're taking it to Auckland.
Hmm.
Sorry. Like I
Yeah.
know New Zealand loves the rugby, but it's been an Australian game. Why do you get Origin? That makes no sense. It is really just to appeal to all the Polynesian kids who will be
Yeah.
coming over here to play in the State of Origin. And that's, I don't know if that's like,
It is just
it's,
about growing the game and making more money.
yeah.
Really, it's a bit sad, and that's the reason for why they're letting like these international players play is because obviously then
And they got
you know,
talent,
oh,
right?
Carly
Like,
Wallace, the Scottish Rugby League player, she's playing for
mm-hmm.
Waterons this year. Oh, deadly. Oh, we better show
Yeah.
the game in, I don't know, what's Edinburgh.
Adam, what? Adam, you don't even know.
I don't know cities in Scotland.
Glasgow, Edinburgh, where else?
Oh, it's
Yeah.
Edinburgh in Scotland.
Yeah.
There you go. I
Yeah.
got it right. What are you
It's
talking about?
Edinburgh is
Edinburgh.
in Scotland. Yes, correct.
Yes, thank you.
Uh,
Trying to gaslight me, my knowledge of geography.
Payback for Deadly or Doogie last week. Look, the thing, right, is that in the last, especially 15 years, the Polynesian players, the Samoan players, the Māori players, anyone from that background are killing it in rugby league. They're born to be built for rugby league and for rugby, right? So they're going to naturally be great at the game. So I think they've now recognised that, and especially a lot of the kids coming over from New Zealand and other places to play in Queensland, especially a lot of the feeder clubs, they get picked up very early. And they have to have the trajectory. You can't just let them go through all of that to then get to professional league and that's it. You can't play Origin because you're from
They
somewhere.
can still play. They can still play for their country. They can still play for New South Wales and so for
Oh.
New Zealand and for Samoa. There's all that. I think.
Why don't they do their own State of Origin in New Zealand league? Like, have they thought of that
Well,
over there? I don't know. I'm just chucking
that's
it out.
what somebody suggested. Like, why don't they make State of Origin a standalone thing, and then you could have State of Origin, you could have New Zealand versus Samoa, you could have
Yeah, why don't they do that?
all these different things, and I don't know why they don't do it. Probably money because it's going to cost a lot for that to happen. But
I guess
um,
so. Is
yeah,
is PNG in the NRL now?
they will be
Oh, they
soon.
will be. Okay,
think
that is happening,
it's
right? That's a
that is
thing.
happening.
Okay, I
Yeah,
didn't
so they'll
imagine
be
that.
based in Cairns and play half their games, I think, in Port Moresby, and then the other half in Cairns. The team's based in Cairns, but they'll play at
Townsville.
Townsville or Dairy Farmers or in Port Moresby. So
Surely
the,
Cairns
the
can get a
reason why they're doing
stadium.
that, yeah, no, but the reason why they're doing that is because they just to work out all the security and stuff
Yeah,
for because
players, right?
our Melanesian brothers up in the islands, rugby league is
Mm-hmm.
a religion to them. Like the amount of teams, the amount of like individuals that have like change their last name to like Meninga and all these things because they just love
Yeah,
Queensland and rugby league that much.
yeah.
They punch on
Mm.
like we get wild about Origin. My previous partner, she and her family, they're split down the middle between New South Wales and Queensland, and they will get wild at each other. But
Mm.
the PNG cousins would full on fist fight. Like if their team lost or there it was a close game, like they
Yeah.
would. It was wild. Like I was only in Cairns for like one Origin series, one game, And she was like, "Let's go." She's like, "What?" Like,
It's
so just
gonna
go.
pop off.
Yeah, and I was like, "What?" And then like seriously, like the mob just started family fighting family because
Mm,
they went for different teams,
yeah.
and it was just like I'm like,
And the players like get
um,
mobbed and stuff. Hey, like I've seen
yeah,
over the
yeah,
years,
yeah,
like the
yeah, yeah,
Cornwalls and
like
that.
just like
Yeah,
thousands of people, like they're up on hills, they can't even get
on
down
the
there, so they stand
roofs.
up on
Yeah,
hills, on the roofs, on top of buses,
yeah.
anything just to get a sight of like the kangaroos and stuff when they go there. So
Anyone think they're special, the kangaroos? But
yeah,
no, this is it, right? It's like life. It is.
it's
It
like a lot,
is
yeah.
full on. So it's going to
Mm,
be interesting. And
mm.
did they say also that they're going to pay players more to play for them to get
Yeah,
incentives for? Yeah,
I think there's incentives for that. Yeah. So
interesting. So
yeah, so you got to.
we're rating state of origin. So that starts this year. That new rule.
I don't know if it starts this year. Probably
Hey.
does, but yeah.
Okay. What? But how is State of Origin going to hit in Auckland? Like that doesn't make sense to me. Like even
Mm,
when it gets to Melbourne, like even though Melbourne Storm have been in the comp now since what 1999. Am I
yeah, and
right?
they're
Yes.
winning.
Come on, the
Yeah,
NRL
good totally.
knowledge her again. See, that was my era.
Mm.
Brett Kamali days. See, hey. See, I know. I
You know,
still
she
know, but
knows.
don't you worry about me. But even though Melbourne Storm have been in for that long, Melbourne people are still predominantly AFL. Like everybody
Yeah, yeah,
knows that. So when the
yeah,
Origin's there, it's still pretty good, but it's never going to be what it is in Queensland and New South
yeah.
Wales.
So there's a Melbourne game in this year that I'm going to. Just PS wifey, I'm going to
I was
Melbourne
going to
this
say,
year.
did his wife know about this?
But when you go down there, it's mostly Queensland and New
Yeah,
South Wales people that have gone to Melbourne for the
for the
game.
game, yeah.
It's not like
Same as
it's not
Perth.
yeah, it's not selling out. It's not selling out from Melbourne people. It's selling out from people from for the other two states going down there.
And there's going to be a Perth team soon, right? In a
Yeah,
few,
same year. So Perth and
okay,
PNG come at the same time.
next year maybe. Is it next year or
I
the
think
year
it's
after?
2020
Something
and
like that.
2028. Yeah,
Why has Queensland not got another team, given
I
how
don't.
big it is?
Mm, I think it's just money. I think the teams had to apply. So Queensland teams applied for it. So they wanted to put another Ipswich team in, or the Sunshine Coast were talking about. Can they have a
Oh, well,
team?
I guess we've got Dolphins. I always forget about the Dolphins now,
Yeah, the
bless
good old
them.
Dolphins.
But that's Southeast Queensland. North Queensland, Cairns
Mm,
and Cape. Could you imagine if they invested in that area? Come on,
yeah,
NRL.
there's that many talented blackfellas, and I was talking about this with my trainer. He's a rugby league. He's a PT, and he does like rugby league specific training and stuff as well. So his missus is Maori, I think, and he's like when he sees like Polynesians and blackfellas and stuff train, he's like, I don't know why we're not putting more money into this because he's like the natural ability.
Yeah.
And so I think he does like fast twitch fiber, like that's his specialty is like, like increasing your speed and blah, 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 that sort of stuff. And he's like, it's
What is
just
it?
crazy how much
Fast
fast
twitch?
twitch fiber muscles or something like
That
that. He,
sounds like a drug. Can I get some of that fast
yeah,
twitch
yeah,
fiber?
yeah. So yeah, but like his thing is like focusing on that. So like
Right.
your
Reaction
makes whatever
times and
different
stuff,
reaction
right?
time, all
Yeah.
that sort of stuff. Yeah. And he's like, yeah, like you're just watching these guys and their natural ability and how quickly it's like, yeah,
Hmm.
boom, done it.
You
He's like,
know
it's just,
why? Because black kids get too homesick and they don't want to move from Cairns and
yeah.
Cape because they're like, nah, I don't want to. I literally had a friend who would
Mm.
get phone calls from what's the Dolphins coach? Bennett.
Wayne
Um,
Bennett, yeah,
Wayne Bennett would get phone calls when Wayne Bennett wants to sign him like
yeah,
every other day and he just didn't want to leave Cairns. Just real
mm.
like homesick Murray, don't want to leave North Queensland.
Yeah,
Imagine if they had a
yeah,
whole thing there and the kids could just live there or come down from the Cape and live there. Like, killer.
yeah. AFL does that really well now.
Yeah, they do up in
Um,
Cairns, especially in the Cape.
yeah, in the Cape and NT in
Mm-hmm.
Perth in Adelaide, like they have like specific centers because they're like there's that much talent in
Yep.
in the black community. They're like these kids are coming in. Like I think there's one sister girl. She was from Red Dirt Country out there in, near Broome or something, and they did the testing just as like a thing, like, oh, this is the
Yeah.
testing that people do for if they want to play in the AFL. And she would have been like the second fastest in the draft. Her reaction time was faster than anybody else and something else. And they're like, oh, and she was doing it like barefoot, like just, like
Just tested
it's
for
just
it.
crazy. What is, but same thing. She's just like she just lived in a little
Yeah.
community just out past Broome. loved football, like loved AFL, and was just doing this program because it was just something to do. And this white lady is like, yeah. And the girl's like, oh, that's nice. And she's like,
Yeah. Do you know
that's
what this
nice.
means? She's like, I gotta go now. Gotta go kick back with the cousins.
Yeah,
like,
yeah. She's like, all right, yeah, okay, cool. And I'm like, oh my goodness. So yeah, just it is one day I hope that there's a whole lot of creativity and stuff out there as well. It's not just sport, but we're really underutilizing the talent that's within
True
the
that.
black collar community.
Well, how many more sleeps till the NRL kicks off for you?
There
Well,
was the Indigenous
All-Stars,
All-Star
yeah.
game and the World Cup game on the weekend, but I think there's another 2 weeks until the Vegas round, or is Vegas round next weekend? Vegas round's coming up soon.
You're talking about Bris Vegas? Is that what you're talking about? Oh,
No,
the
no,
Vegas,
like
Vegas.
proper
I
Vegas,
forgot.
Vegas, the one that I went to.
That's right.
Years
That doesn't
ago.
make sense to me as well. Don't get me started. NRL.
It's about money. It's all about money.
It's crazy to me. But yet
all
they
about
can't
money.
even fill a stadium sometimes in Sydney. What the hell? And, see,
Yeah.
I have my issues with the NRL. But anyway, that is deadly or doggy for another. I don't know what to rate it because I've got no rating. I don't watch it anymore, so I feel like I'm unfair. I think it's doggy though because State of Origin. Anyway, all right, brother, that is it for another week of them yarns. Thanks for the yarns. Thanks for holding space for the ADHDs.
Yeah, thanks for sharing your story. Thanks for sharing your story, sister. Appreciate it.
Cheers, brother. And good luck, State of Origin, hey?
Yo.
We'll catch you next week. Yo.
Central Board.